Super. So yeah, folks, thanks a lot for on Saturday. And so if you just starting with a little bit of introduction about what we do over here. So Applied AI Club is run by Praveen and I. So we've been running for about 8 to 9 months now. So our focus is that especially operators in this new world, they find it like very hard, or they don't find the time or the right avenue to learn about AI, right? So our focus is how do you actually bring AI as a technology and make it easily available for operators. Operators in the sense PMs and not engineering folks and non-students. So those guys have their own avenues, and that's something we don't focus on, but purely on people working in the technology industry or the business and make it AI accessible for them. So that's what we do. So in terms of the activities that we actually do, so we run a session like this every week. So every Saturday at 10 a.m. we do one specific session on a topic around AI. And so all the sessions are actually free and open, and our past sessions are already recorded and available on YouTube, so you can go check it out. So the other thing we actually do is we also run some study groups. So study groups are, again, they are free in a way. So it's basically a group of people who want to learn a particular concept together. So we have two study groups right now. So one is on n8n. So you come as a group, you learn n8n, you do a project, and you present the project to the world at the end of 3 weeks. Right? It is full self-learning. We share the material, we share everything. You make a commitment of $499. You do the demo, you get the $499 back. Like, we're not trying to earn money through this. It's just a way to kind of like make people committed, right? And similarly, we have a study group for vibe coding, where you build your own projects with vibe coding. Again, you can do it together or you can do it independently, right? So that's the second thing we do. In fact, we have something starting in a couple of days. So if you're interested, we'll go to the website and you can run some of those. The third thing that we are actually going to start in a couple of weeks is, proper training courses. So a bunch of folks have come and asked us that they need like a lot of handholding to, learn this process. Self-study is not possible yet. So for that, we will be having, proper structured courses with which people can actually learn on their launch in the future. And we also have a WhatsApp group. We have close to 400 plus people who, like are part of the group. Mostly it's discussions around what is happening around AI, specific problems they have, and just generally trying to discuss and learn about the industry. So that's essentially what actually happens. Okay, so that's about like what we do as a community. So if you are interested, just go check out this website. So it has all those details. Okay. Now coming to today's session, so session is about n8n, right? So I'm sure most of you know about n8n, but n8n is it's a workflow automation tool which is useful for automating your internal workflows mostly. So as a business, you have a lot of internal process or operation process that are actually happening. It is not always justified to invest proper engineering teams to kind of like build all of those. So that's where n8n comes in. It gives you an easy framework with which you can automate your workflows within the business. It's a fairly successful tool, but it's a little bit more developer focused. That means you need to understand a little bit of technology to kind of like, work with it. The reason why we still prefer that is that it provides a lot more opportunities than, the Zapiers and the Make of the world, and it is also slightly cheaper for you to actually start with. So that's why we actually like it. So we have people who've been working with n8n for a while. One of the biggest problems they actually face is, how do we get started? Just like initial installation of n8n, how do you actually use workflows, how do you actually add credentials, and etc. So that's where most of the trouble is. While you understand the basics, if you understand the basics, it's easier for you to kind of like learn and upgrade. There are a lot of YouTube videos and templates and other things available, so those things are largely covered. But getting started is a part a lot of people actually struggle with. So that is what we are actually going to see today. Okay, so we have other sessions done in the past which talks about building the workflows in detail. Go check out either our courses or somebody else who has actually done it. So, but that's not going to be the focus this time. We'll purely focus on what is n8n, how do you install, either use the cloud version or self-hosted version, or installing on a server, etc. And number three is how do you build a very, very simple workflow. What a particular node is, how do you build the workflow, how do you work with credentials, etc. Just going to give you the basic structure. Okay. Again, this session is being recorded. By Monday, I think we will put it on YouTube. So yeah, if you missed a few things, just you can go back and refer to that. Some housekeeping, just if you have any questions, feel free to pause and ask. If that's something that I can take, then I'll take it. If it's taking a long time, we can connect one-on-one later, and we can actually discuss this, like, in the interest of time. Okay, all right. So that's about it. So now let's get started. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, my screen should be visible. So now I'm going to n8n, right? So talking about talking about n8n in general, right? So n8n is basically like a workflow automation platform. What it does is very simple. You have tools. For example, you have Gmail, you have Slack, or you have Excel sheets, you have Microsoft Teams, you have documents, you have all of these different tools, that Jira's, etc. You have all of these different tools that you use on your day-to-day basis. Now the problem is the data in one tool is not easily accessible in the other tool for you to perform certain things. Okay, for example, let's say somebody submits a form. We have n8n enables you to kind of like do these workflows where, let's say somebody submits a form, you have an AI agent to process the form details and send it as notification to your Slack. One of the other things that we discussed in the previous demos is, Praveen is not there. I have to approve all these requests. So please ignore the interruption. So one of the examples that I can think of is, imagine that you get invoices to your email, and that invoices can actually be extracted using like LLMs, and then it can be pushed to specific Excel sheets where all of those things are actually tracked. So previously you would have had a human being to kind of like do this data entry process, but the whole thing can be automated with n8n. Okay. Another thing is, let's say you get like a lot of emails. You have a parser which figures out which email needs your attention and probably send you a Slack notification. Okay, so we had one of our members actually build superb grocery management kind of like an app using n8n, where he sends picture of his grocery bill on WhatsApp group. It extracts all the items and puts it neatly in an Excel sheet saying which product, what is the price, when it was bought, etc., and from which shop, etc. And he was able to build a chart around how the price of groceries have actually been going up for a while. Right? So all of those things are actually possible. Now, n8n is, I think, it's a company, so it's called Node Nation, right? So yeah, n8n is kind of like n8n.io is the domain. You can go check it out how they actually do. So the interesting thing is, so it is, if you use Zapier or Make, it's very, very similar to that, but it is slightly technically focused. That means it is primarily built for engineers, but over a period of time, like a lot more people have actually started taking it up. Now, why are we picking up n8n instead of Zapier and Make? It's because, one, obviously it's lowest cost. Even on a cloud version, n8n is actually much cheaper compared to Zapier and Make, which is one. And second is, it has one of the best implementations of AI within a no-code platform that I have actually seen. Retool is definitely better, but the Retool is a lot more expensive. So n8n has a very, very good implementation agents, which makes it very useful for especially if you are trying to get into the AI domain. Zapier and Make are like nowhere close in terms of how they've actually done this. That is number two. And number three is that so the ability to customize and write some custom code, etc. I know code is something that not everybody is comfortable with, but given how these AI platforms have actually been coming up, it is becoming easier and easier. And n8n as a tool creates a lot more opportunity for you to do complex stuff compared to Zapier and Make. So that's kind of like the reason, right? But don't worry about it. If you are comfortable with Zapier or Make or Relay or any other platforms, just go ahead and do it. All it needs is like, can you log in with the platform? That's all you actually need to think about. Yeah, Charan.
Just want to know what your views on some new platform called Gumroad. I heard about it, not really used it. It's also supposed to be a node-based interface.
Yeah. So the Gumroad, Relay, etc. are like fairly similar. Again, those are like very simple. Gumloop, yeah. Gumroad is the other
Gumroad.
one. Yeah. So yeah, very similar to Relay, etc., which is slightly more no-code. I have not used it personally to talk about like the AI implementation, etc. So it is not what do you say? It has its own limitations in terms of how much you can actually do, but definitely a decent place to start. Lindy is also very similar, Vishal. So yeah, like all of these platforms are similar. There are like some advantages or disadvantages. I personally like n8n mainly because of their implementation of AI agents. When I checked Lindy earlier, it didn't have a similar structure. So yeah, wasn't my preference, but maybe they have changed it now. So I can't talk about it. I'm happy to check it out and give my feedback about it. Yeah. Awesome. So now, I hope everybody understood like what n8n actually is. It has its own problems. We'll talk about like what are the pitfalls of using something like n8n. But before that, let's look at how do you get started with this, right? So n8n is available in like two forms. So it is open source, but selectively open source. That means you can't use it for commercial purposes. You can use it for your own personal reasons or internal workflows of an organization. Okay. If you're installing it for your business, you can expose it to customers. You can resell this. You can copy the code. And if you're installing it for a business, it is recommended that you talk to your legal compliance folks before you actually use it. Okay. But I have used it extensively in my previous startup for all our internal workflows. That is actually allowed, and it saves a lot of time and money. Okay. Now, how do you get started with n8n, right? So the first one is easier to just go and register on the cloud platforms. I'm going to use my dummy email address. Okay, so I will say applied AI 1. Okay. Oops. Why is it not working? Is there a way I can skip all of this? Emailer. Okay. Why? Oh, many. Yeah, that's all it actually takes. You can, so there are multiple videos are available, and they're like massive guides which are actually available for n8n. So there is one nice guide that we actually have internally, shared with one of our community members. I'll share the link along with the recording on YouTube, so you can check that out also. Yeah. Now so this is where, like, now you have an instance that is actually available. Okay. Now this is free for 14 days. Okay. And you can, for example, let me see if there is a template. So there are like some 6,000 templates that are actually available. Let me take something like this. So let's say use for free. What is this? Skip. So use one of these templates. Like, don't get scared by all of these massive stuff. It's actually pretty straightforward. So basically what it does is it waits for some event to come to Telegram, checks if it is voice or text, and if it is voice, then they get the voice file. If it is text, send it to the assistant. If it is voice, transcribe using ChatGPT. The AI assistant does a few things and then finally sends the Telegram message. So that's an example of a workflow that we have actually done. That is there in the template, right? So this is again how you get started with cloud. The disadvantage with the cloud is that it is paid. So I'll show you what the pricing and other things are. So you have to start with a minimum of 24 euros, or 60 user euros, etc. Which, if you're not using it so heavily, or if you're not using it for your business, becomes a little high. Okay, so that is the disadvantage with the cloud version, right? But otherwise, if you can afford this, like, please go ahead. They take care of all of that stuff. Now, the second option that I would actually say, yeah,
Hey Bala.
Yeah.
Bala, I'm curious if we go the route of hosting n8n on Hostinger or someplace like that, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be a lot more hassle? I mean, is the gap going to be so much more that it's not worth going that route?
No, not really, not really. If you can manage that, yes, you can definitely do that. Yeah, it is going to be much cheaper.
Okay, yes, because it seems like 400 rupees right now. There's an offer where you can host a Docker image on n8n, but I've never myself hosted Docker images, so I need to probably figure that out.
It is not too difficult. I'll show you an example now. It just takes 5 minutes to set it up.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the second option, now since you're actually talking about the second option, is a lot of you would simply want to try it out without knowing about these servers and all, right? For it to get started with the Hostinger or AWS or other things, you may not be used to it. If you simply want to try it out, just go for hosting on your local laptop. That is also possible. Okay. So if you're on your laptop, just feel free to just follow these steps. Okay, so let me see. So open your terminal. It works on both Windows and Mac. So I use iTerm, but you can simply, this is being recorded. So just open your terminal. Okay. So there is, like, the way you actually install is first go to install Node.js. Okay. So
maybe a Docker installation is better. I have a Docker I can share with people if people want it.
Yeah. So Docker image is also available. That also is fine. But you don't have to install Docker, etc. You can use simple this. This is much easier if you're using on your local laptop. Okay. So all you have to do is just, like, if you have Windows, it works on Windows, it works on Linux or whatever. Just download this package. I already have it installed. But if you don't have, just click on this package and install. Okay, that's all it takes. Or you can run these commands. Both of them are also fine. So Node.js is the language in which n8n is actually built. Okay, so for n8n to run, so we are downloading Node.js. So that's all it is. It takes. Let me wait for it to download. Okay, just say continue, agree, and install. I hope it won't disturb my existing installation. Is everyone here? Like, are you able to do this? Just give me a thumbs up if you're able to do it, or thumbs down if you're stuck somewhere, or just unmute and ask. Okay. All right. So once you are able to do this, the command to install n8n, okay, is just this. So go to your terminal, copy this, install n8n -g. G basically is global. That means across your system, it will get installed. Otherwise, it will only install on the current, directory or user login, etc. So just run this command. Okay, so I'm just going to explain this command because you don't want to blindly run anything. So npm is something called node package manager. It is like you have a Node.js, which is what we call Node, and there is a package manager. Package manager is like your app store. So you want to install specific packages or modules for Node, then it is called a Node package manager. So I'm calling Node package manager, install a package called n8n. So n8n has created a predefined package for installing on your local system and put it with the Node ecosystem. So when I call the Node package manager to install n8n across my system, it basically installs. So that's essentially what is happening over here. Okay, so now that this is done, all you have to do is just say n8n, type it. Okay, so now it's ready. I'm going to press O. It opens n8n in my browser. Okay, so that's all it takes. Now you have n8n available in your local system. You can log in. For you, it will give you a sign up screen. Because I already have it installed and logged in, it actually is not giving me this. Okay, I forgot my username password, but for you, it will actually be available. So far, are you guys with me? Like, is it done? Just give me a thumbs up if you have.
So I had a doubt. So every time you want to open it, you have to open it from the terminal, doesn't it?
Yeah, in this case, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're installing locally, yeah, it is.
So every time you come here, what's the command to open it?
Just type n8n. Okay.
Okay.
n8n, that's all. It will give you the link. You can either copy paste the link or you can press O. That's all.
Right. So localhost basically.
Localhost, basically, exactly. Okay. So I'll tell you the problem with this localhost approach, right? So the IP address, if you are doing localhost, is your local IP address is this. So if I'm, let's say, I'm connecting to my Gmail, or I'm connected to my Slack, or I'm connected to my Jira, etc. So typically, what they need to do is they will try to verify where it is coming from, where the request is coming from. Okay, so the local host is within a computer IP. It is not a public IP. So the cloud, the Gmail or Jira, etc., running in the cloud won't be able to reach back to your local host. Okay, so connecting to external systems becomes a lot more difficult when you do it on localhost. Is this part clear? Should I explain it again?
Please explain it again. I think I'm slightly confused here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so imagine that okay. So imagine that. So my computer. Okay. So this is localhost, my n8n. Okay. Then it has a. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm calling Gmail. So I'm calling Gmail, saying that hey, give access to all my. I want to read all my Gmail files using n8n. So n8n will send a request to Gmail. What Gmail will do is Gmail will run its own authentication process, okay, with your credentials, etc., and send response back to source. Okay. Now, source in this case is basically localhost. So Gmail server will not know which localhost is, because every computer has its own localhost. Localhost is when you locally install, it is basically local IP address. You guys understand localhost? Any questions on this?
Slightly, but not entirely. If you could go through it.
I'll give you three things, right? So if you think about like networking, there are, let me see if I can show this. So in Windows, it's IP config. So when you run this, it will show you all the IP address that you actually have. Okay, so inet6 IP address, etc. So Ethernet, this is there. You have so 127.0.1 is a localhost IP address. That means IP address of this computer, and it is only available within a computer. So every computer has a local IP address called 127.0.1. That is what we call localhost. This is an IP address dedicated to every single computer. So within a computer, if you want to talk, this is the IP address you actually use. Okay. And at home, you will have a router. Okay. When it is connected to the router, you will have an IP address, something like, I'm just trying to see where it is, 192.168, so things like this, or 10 dot, etc. So you will have those kind of IP address. That is called a local network. I don't know why I'm not seeing these here. It's been some time since I worked on networking. But yeah, within your computer, let's say you have your phone, you have your laptop, you have your wife's laptop, you have your TV which is connected. Every one of them have their own IP address, and your local router at your home actually handles this. Okay. If you want to contact another device within the house, okay, that is a local network. And again, this is not exposed to the outside world. The outside world will not be able to reach out to you. When you want to reach out to the outside world, okay, then you have the dedicated IP address. There are other concepts around the dedicated IP address for the outside world service. For example, if you have google.com, google.com has an IP address. Okay, so 142.250.77.110 is basically google.com's IP address right now, which is kind of it also changes dynamically, but like you can think of it as a fixed IP address for google.com service. Okay, this is how it actually works. Is this so far? Is it clear? Okay. So now when google.com, so now what I'm trying to do is my n8n is running on 127 that this localhost means this 127 IP address. Now every computer has this 127. So now when Gmail gets the authentication request with username password, it verifies it. Now it wants to send back a response saying, yeah, like I've approved it. It tries to send it back to 127.0.0.1. Okay. But which 127.0.1? Because every computer in the world has the same IP address, localhost IP address. So Google will not be able to reach back to this computer unless we have a dedicated address. Okay. So that is where this localhost installation actually goes for a toss. You don't have to worry about it too much. I know we're getting a little bit deeper into the technicalities, but when you want to connect to an external service, this becomes a problem. There are other methods to use it to solve for it, but we'll not get into that today. It will become a proper networking course. But that is where the local host installation of, like installing on your own computer, might fail. Okay. So what we will do then is we'll install it on some cloud provider, which is at a much cheaper cost. Okay. So there are somebody mentioned hosting here. There is one more called Render. The one I like to use is called Railway, which is where I have typically deployed. Okay, so it's very simple. It is just like AWS or your GCP or Azure, etc. Yes, that's exactly the reason, Gaurav. Like you were, because the service is not able to reach out back to you. Okay, we're going to use Railway. I'm going to kind of like rush through this. So go to, you have to sign up, login, and Railway has a minimum of $5 for you to start with. There are other services just slightly cheaper, slightly higher, etc. But this should be enough. Let's say I'm going to create a new project. Okay, so I can use a template. So in Railway, there is a template which is actually available. I will simply say n8n. n8n. Okay, so there is something called n8n with Postgres. So n8n needs two things: the n8n's own binary, and Postgres is the database that it is actually going to use. Okay, so once I choose this template, I have to simply say deploy. It takes about a couple of minutes for this thing to actually become live. Okay, the Postgres is live, so n8n should be live any minute now. Okay, so our service is up. So I'm going to click on this URL. You can set your own, like you can buy your domain, you can set up your own URL. That those options are also available. So click on this link. Now I have n8n hosted on my cloud. Okay, I can access this from anywhere. So I'm going to give my email address. Let's get started. Skip. Okay. So this is live. So basically, for like in case of Railway, I end up spending about $5 a month, right? This is where this is like the amount minimum what you have to spend. There are some free services available, but you'll end up getting to $5 to $7 in any service that you actually use. Okay. So now our n8n is ready. So you can either go for the cloud version, or you can go for your self-hosted version, or you can do it on a local host. Okay. Now that n8n is up and running, we will start going through how it actually works. Okay. So yeah.
I just have one doubt. If I'm hosting it somewhere else, say on hosting or all of that, will the process be the same?
Slightly different for each of these things. So the good part is n8n actually gives you a good guide to install in multiple locations. Installation guide, server setups. So you have all of these different ones. Even if it is, something new, some of these will actually help.
Okay.
Okay, just go through this. It is not like, the problem with n8n is that their documentation is a little irritating. The best help is for you to use ChatGPT or Claude to kind of like debug how this thing actually runs, etc. It is a bit of an effort for you to figure it out first time, but yeah, unfortunately, you have to go through that. Their documentation overall is pretty shit. So this is a problem with this entire service. Okay, cool. So Yeah, we've got like 20 minutes. So we'll try to build a very, very simple workflow. Okay. So the main thing you need to know is that each n8n is something called has something called a workflow. Okay. So workflow basically is there is a trigger. Okay, sorry, wait, what's happening? Okay. Why is this thing up now? Sure. Yeah, so each workflow has something called a trigger. So you click on this button, it will show you what is the trigger. So the trigger could be that manually you can click and trigger, or let's say something like, you have a new entry happens in an Airtable, or you got a new email, or you got a new WhatsApp message, or a Telegram message, or Slack message, or a new ticket got created in Jira. So when do I start running this particular workflow is basically what is a trigger. You can also do it on a schedule. Schedule is every few days or every few hours, etc. So you can naturally run this. That is something called schedule. Or you can also do it on a form submission, on a chat message. It could be any of these things. Okay. So for our use case, probably let's do this as form submission. So n8n by itself gives you a URL, okay, for form submission. So I'll say that is, if you want login authentication for the form to have some kind of authentication, you can do that. I'm going to keep it like no. Title is, let's say, sorry about the noise, like new customer onboarding. I will say what's name, text required, your email, text required, let's say your phone, and I can say phone number, okay, required. So you do not use n8n's form. You also have Google Forms. So your Google Forms is not being shown, but I can delete it and get a Google Form trigger. So that is definitely possible. So you can use any Microsoft Forms, Airtable Forms, anything for that matter. Right? So let's assume that. So that's a first step. The next step is what do you want to do with this particular data, right? For example, the next ones are called nodes. So there is a specific section of AA nodes that they actually have. This is an important part of it. We'll talk about this. And finally, let's say I want to dump all the data in Google Sheets. Okay, so I'll say append or append a row in the sheet. Fine. So all we are doing is we are getting a form submission, and we are processing that form data using AI, and finally appending that data into a Google spreadsheet. Is this clear? Any questions so far on what we're trying to do?
Is there a limitation on what can be attached to that on-form submission and on the right-hand side and all? Because I was seeing some videos wherein, there has to be some logic and the data only flows in one direction. So you have to add something like a connector and all that. Or is it very easily plug and play?
See, you can attach anything, right? So all the nodes that are there, you will be able to attach anything. But depending on the use case, so it starts executing one by one. For example, when this trigger happens, it runs the trigger, runs the AI agent, runs the spreadsheet, and we have 10 more or 50 more, etc. It runs all those. Okay. So first understand the workflow, just like how you do a flow chart on your paper. Just do that flow chart, and once the flow chart is ready, try to kind of implement the same thing over here. That's the approach to take.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now let's get to. So now form submission has happened, and since we are trying to process something with AI, we will do another text field saying that what are you interested in our platform for? Okay, so is there a large text that I can do? Text area, yeah. So I'm just adding a temporary strip so that we have something to process with AI. Now coming to AI agent. Okay, so I'm sure all of you guys have used what do you call ChatGPT or Claude or other AI models. Okay, do you guys know the difference between like an AI assistant versus an AI agent?
Agent can take decisions independently.
Yeah, no, so the difference mainly is that AI can take actions. Sorry, agent can take actions. Assistant can only do what do you call, assistant can, so for example, if you have ChatGPT, so ChatGPT, if I'm simply what's the, how do I, how do I update my CRM? So ChatGPT gives you a response saying how to update your CRM. So this is what an assistant does. You ask a question, an assistant actually gives you inputs, stations, all of those. But can I ask ChatGPT saying, can you update my CRM with the name Bala and or applied AI? So can I actually do this? It won't work, right? Because ChatGPT doesn't know what my CRM is, how to access my CRM, what to do all of those, etc. Okay. So here ChatGPT is a simple, what do you call, assistant. When an AI agent is able to use certain tools and perform an action, that is called an agent. Okay. So n8n offers both assistance, which is your, like individual Anthropic, OpenAI and other things. You can also use an AI agent, which is more, you can attach tools to it. Okay. Is this part clear? Okay. All right. Sounds good. Cool. So now let's do the AI agent. So now AI agent has 3 parts, right? So we have a chat model, which is mandatory. So I have to use a particular chat model here. So let me go ahead and use, you can use anything that you actually want. I'm going to use Gemini. And you can use memory. So if you want memory for some reasons, you can use. And if you have specific tools in the sense, let's say you want ChatGPT to access your HubSpot CRM or your Airtable or send message via WhatsApp. So you do all of those. So for all of those, n8n actually provides the necessary tools that you can actually use. You can connect any tool to the AI agent, and the AI agent will be able to use it, which is a big advantage. This is the biggest difference between how n8n uses AI agents compared to other no-code platforms that actually use like Zapier, Make, Relay, or others. Okay, n8n gives you an option where the model can directly access these tools, and it provides the infrastructure where it can actually do that. For example, if I
you're saying the other platforms, the AI agent, they don't support, or I'm just trying to understand.
They support. What they do is they give you a chat model, and the chat model will give you a response. That's all they do. Okay, but they don't have access to tools.
Oh, okay.
That is where, and tools is not.
Then it is not an agent then, right? I mean,
it's not an agent. It is an assistant.
Okay.
I'm sure some of them have implemented now, but because being like 2-3 times, yeah. Well, MCP came kind of like after that. So n8n also provides its own version of MCP right now. But yeah, like Zapier might have implemented MCP and other things recently, but I've not seen that. The main reason why, like, I prefer using what you call n8n is because it has a native support for MCP and also native support for all these different tools. And it has probably like hundreds of tools, and all those tools can be directly connected without any additional work at all. Okay. Cool. So now coming to an important part of n8n. See, when you are working with n8n,
One more question, sorry, if you don't. Why do we need MCP here when the tools library or maybe the repository is there? I mean, it's showing the right side of the.
correct, exactly.
So, do we really need to have MCP coming into the picture? I'm just trying to.
No, your point is exactly right. You really don't need to, right? So you can directly connect. You really don't need a separate MCP thing over there. So one implementation they have, which is very interesting. I'll see if I can show you. Actually, do you get okay? I don't have it active right now, but do you know this concept of MCP server? So it's a separate server which is not in the current workflow. The server has access to all. It's an MCP server. It will have access to all the tools, and the server can be called by different workflows at different points in time.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Right. Correct. Yeah.
That is a concept you can actually implement in n8n. So where you can have like a separate server workflow where only MCP servers are all created, and you can invoke it from your different workflows at any point in time. So those are things which are possible here. Okay. So cool. Coming back to this, right? See, the biggest problem that you are going to have. So n8n is pretty easy to use. There are two big problems that we are going to have. So number one is that their documentation and their engineering focused approach in using the entire tool. And if you go to any documentation, you will actually see that like it's like half-baked. It uses some terminologies. It takes a minute to understand. So it's a very difficult part. The second one is credentials. So every tool that we actually connect, either here we are adding Google spreadsheets or here we are using Google Gemini. So to connect it, we need our own credentials. Okay, this is where you are going to spend a lot of time on. And credentials to connect to every tool is going to be different, depending on the tool, right? So let me try to, kind of clarify how credential as a concept actually works. So the best part is you will not expose your username and password in each of these nodes. So everything is safely stored under this part called credentials. Okay, there is no credential right now. So let me explain. So for example, let's say I want to use Gemini, and for Gemini, I have my own personal account and I want to create the credentials for it. So I go and create a new credential. It will give you a documentation on how to configure this. So connecting to Gemini is pretty straightforward. If you open the docs, it will tell you how to go about connecting all of this. But again, it doesn't talk about edge cases. It doesn't talk about if the format of Gemini actually changes, they don't update the documentation properly. So this is like a big pain point with n8n overall. But unfortunately, I have learned to live with it. Like it's open on how you actually want to explore, but this is a big problem. Now, in case of Gemini, let's say I'm going to AI Studio. Okay, so this is what we use. And within AI Studio, there is this thing called get API key. You'll actually find it. So go to get API key and you create a new API key. Just name the API key. If you have a cloud project, you select it. Otherwise, you can create a new project in a minute. So I'm going to do this as apply a demo. I will create a new project as demo. Create a project. So now create a key. I'll delete this key after. So this one, right? So just copy the key. Come back, paste the key, and click save. Okay, if you see green, that means the key is actually working. Go here. So now the Gemini model is connected. So I can say which model to use. Flash is fine. There are additional options. You can ignore this. Now let's test if this thing is working. So now the model is added. We don't need memory or we don't need tool for that. So let's also add some prompt. Okay. Prompt is what are we doing? So let's say I'll define. So by default it says like, hey, previous node me whatever is coming, I'll use it as a prompt. but you can also say that I will specifically define what the prompt is supposed to be. Okay, can you, so what is the form that we have actually added? Name, email, phone number, what are interesting platform for? Is there a better question we can ask so that AI can process? Okay. So classify the request into bug fixes. We have issue creation or do external. I'm just going to give something random. Return the value in a very called reason. Okay, cool. So now let's test this for right? So I'm going to execute. Oh, it says it's giving an error because this we have not configured the credentials. Okay, before we come to this, I'm going to pause it for now. I'm going to execute the workflow. So now the form, so n8n gives you a link to the form. You can share this link. This is a test link for you to test internally. It also gives you a production link for you to share it with others. So this is all possible. I'm gonna, if I execute, it will open the form. Club. Phone is okay. Platform for I want to understand how to resolve issues in my app. So just do something random. Okay, the form got submitted. So once you submit, so this is what happens. So it ran, first it ran. The input is the form data. The output is all the details that are actually sent. Okay. Now coming to the second node. Now second node input is the previous node's output. Okay, so here classify the request into region. So I'm going to execute this. So what's happening is it runs use a Google model to analyze and send. So it says please provide the request you need me to classify. The problem is we are not sending this information into the prompt. So for you to do that, so first I can just drag and drop. Okay, so click on execute tab. New issue creation. Okay, so it is able to classify and give you this variable called new issue creation. Are you guys with me so far? Any questions on how this thing works?
So just a question, I'm not really familiar, but is this first node, I think first one's output, is that not the, not only the input, is that not the prompt for the agent? Or you have to explicitly write a prompt also?
So what yeah, very good question. There are two options here, Venkat. So one is just use the previous node's input as a prompt. That is this option.
Okay.
But this node input has other things like name, email, phone number, etc. So I don't want to disturb the prompt with all those details. I simply want this. So I want something specific. So what I did is I said like, hey, I'm going to explicitly define what is a prompt.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I have actually done over here.
Sure.
Okay, so once that is actually done, now I can come to the Google spreadsheets. So one more thing which will be useful when you are working with n8n, right? Now I have run the form, I have done this. Now I'm going to test the Google spreadsheets update. The problem is every time I test, I have to input the form submission. Correct. So every time I do execute workflow, it will start from here. So for example, let me show you. So I'm going to click on execute. It opens the form again. I have to, do all of this. And fix my bug. Submit. Problem submitting your response. What happened? Response is recorded. Now so every time I test, I have to submit the form. One way to avoid this is by opening it, and there is an option called pin. If I pin right, I'll open this also. So if I pin, basically what happens is when I execute the workflow next time, it will start from where it is last pinned. So I don't have to do this process again. So it directly hits here. Okay, I don't try to reprocess this. That means my effort in terms of doing this from the beginning, especially when you have a large workflow. So that will be avoided. Is this part clear? Okay. Right. So now let's get into updating the Google spreadsheet, right? So again, the biggest part is adding a credential here. Now Google's credentials are a lot more difficult. So again, you have documentation. I click on this, it will show you, how to work with, how to connect OAuth and other things. Okay. Let me see if I can quickly show you. This is going to take a minute. So go to admin. You'll have all this documentation available, but I'll quickly show you what it actually takes to kind of like set up this. So go to console.cloud.google.com. If you don't have it, create one is what I would actually say. Actually, we are already at 11. Do you guys want me to complete this, or do you want to break for questions? Let me know what you guys want to do.
Complete it. How much more time?
Okay, I will complete it then. Right. So go here. So you can create your own project here. You can create a new project if you actually want. I'm going to use my existing projects. Okay, go to a project. Then you create a client. Your application type is a web application, or you have iOS, Android, all of these mobile applications if you want. And say applied n8n demo. And you have a redirect URL. So this is where n8n will give you a redirect URL. Just copy this, click to copy, go here, paste it. Okay, and once you're done, just click create. This will give you a client ID. I'm going to copy, paste here. And this will also give me a client secret, copy, paste here. So once you're done, click save. And then you can click on sign in with Google. This will open the typical, you would have seen it in your other applications, right? So this is how this thing gets created, authentication. So I'm going to create something like, I'm going to use this email address. Continue. Yeah, I'm going to give all the access because we are trying to use it for Google Sheets, right? So it automatically figures out like the right permissions we need to use for that. Continue. Now my Google authentication is done. Okay. Questions on this? Anything? I'm assuming things are fine. Now, since the account is connected, you will automatically be able to choose the documents that. Why is there no document? Oh, I don't have any spreadsheet, I think. So. It's full, huh? I don't have any documents, that's why. Okay, now the document is created. Just go back, open this. Credible demo spreadsheet is here. Choose the sheets inside. So there is a sheet 1. I'll probably add. Oops, it's not this one. Yes, I can say name, email, phone, request. Okay, so get rows is the append rows actually for us. So append a row. So what it did is, so when I said, so the operation that we need to perform is appending a row, appending a new row based on the input request coming from the form. So it is automatically saying, these are the fields I have, which is name, email, phone number, and request in the spreadsheet. It automatically fetched and gave me all the things that we are supposed to implement. Okay. So the way I can do this is, I can just drag and drop the name here. And drag and drop the, oops. I don't know why it is showing it in red. Okay. Phone. And result is this requester. Okay, so it's saying, what is the other saying? Unpin node A agent and execute. Okay, sure. So I'm good. All right, so we are done. So I'm going to execute the workflow. So it doesn't ask for the form again. It executed the agent stuff and it is updating the spreadsheet. Go back to the spreadsheet. I see that the data is updated here. Any questions, folks?
This Google authentication and all this, is it that's so simple the way it looks like a little bit tricky and not so straightforward. Yeah. Is there a steps or somewhere, Bala, we have? I know it's if you can suggest.
See, there's so Google, for example, is exactly documented in n8n. So, for example, it tells you what to do, where.
Okay.
What to credentials, application type, web application, redact URL, paste it over there. So it tells you everything, and it also troubleshooting because it's slightly older now, so the documentation is a little better.
Okay.
What I would say is, especially in terms of handling credentials, etc., use ChatGPT. The n8n also has a community. A lot of people have actually asked questions over there. You can check that, or you can check the documentation. Right. Otherwise, if you're part of the group, just ask somebody in the group and that's what I would recommend.
Sure.
Yeah, it is a little tricky. Yes. Yeah, I will not deny that. Yeah. Go on.
So Bala, now that we created a workflow locally, if I want to run this workflow inside the cloud or in another computer, the same exact workflow in another computer, is it like a document which I can send it out and upload the document in another place and edit it? How does that work exactly? Moving workflows that you created from one place into another.
Got it. So how do you make it live is a good question, right? First step is we'll rename this. I'll say CRM form submission. Okay. So once you do it, the first step you need to do is activate it. Okay. So once you activate, so since it is in a server, we have deployed this n8n instance. Once you activate it, it is live for other people to use. So the way you share the credentials, you just open the form submission, go to production URL, copy it, and send it to people over WhatsApp. Now, if I open this production URL, right, from anywhere, it will essentially open the form. Because our input is the form input. But tomorrow it could be a Google document also. The first thing, trigger node would be a Google form or Gmail, right? So you just connect it, and whenever you do the operation, it will trigger over. Simple.
Okay. Yeah. So
Clear, right?
Yeah. So actually, my question was about running the workflow itself in another place. So
you want to give it to somebody else.
Yeah. So I imagine I wrote
okay.
the workflow. Yeah. So because I'll first, it's like your traditional dev environment and prod environment.
Sure. Yeah. See, very simple. Just click. You have an option to download.
Okay.
What it is, or all you have to do is just do a command A and command C, copy paste.
Okay.
Right. So even if you download, it comes in the format of JSON. If you have known JSON.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Really
so this whole thing is a JSON. If you copy paste, it gives you everything from like position, etc., like where each one of them are updated. So
okay.
Yeah. So if I want to open, let's say I want to open my local host. Okay. Sorry, it's already open here. That's right. I open my local host. Okay, sorry. Okay, I will open another thing here. Create a new workflow. Okay, so just paste. I'm just doing command V now. It'll paste the exact one here.
Okay. Very nice.
The only difference is that the credentials will not be shared if you are moving to a different account. That's why credentials are always secure. Right. So that's the difference.
Okay. So it's essentially a wrapper on JSON. Okay.
Yeah. It's all just JSON. Yeah.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, folks?
So if we want to keep playing with the n8n cloud model, we need, and we don't want to pay for time being, we'll have to create multiple email addresses just before we are sure that this is the way to go ahead, right?
The problem is now it's 14 days only trial period. So whatever, like one way is to just keep creating, download and use it. That is one. Or second one is do it if you're not using any providers like Gmail, etc. Then you can use it in your local. Otherwise, you'll have to deploy it in one of these servers.
Okay.
I think AWS one worksite gives you free credits every month.
Yeah, something like that. I know AWS does, but I'm also very scared about AWS because they have a good lock-in mechanism, I believe. So I have not fully explored, so I can't really speak for that. But both the AWS, GCP, I think provide a lot of free credits.
Okay. Yeah, I tried that. The one thing which I wanted to know was, do these servers, like once I've deployed it, right? Now, so let's say this form itself, does this keep working throughout, or does the server go down, or will I have to always like switch on the server. There was some problem which was mentioned at like few tutorials which I was going through on different blogs.
So it depends on the service provider. For example, there is a service provider called Renter, which allows you to deploy this for free, right? But if the service restarts, you lose all this data. And they put your service to sleep if you don't use it. So there are things like this. The one I use, which is Railway, I have to pay $5 for it. Okay, but none of they don't shut it down. It's available 24/7.
Okay, got it.
And it is also usage. Like obviously, $5 is minimum. You have to do usage-based pricing.
Okay,
right. So they do all of this different stuff. So you have a minimum of $5, right? But based on usage, it kind of like keeps adding up.
Okay, got it.
Okay, anything else, folks? Hope it was useful. Okay. All right, if there are no other questions, then we can wind up. If you are interested in doing these projects, we have a study group starting soon and bootcamp also starting soon. Study group is already live. If you want, you can join that. Bootcamp it will be live in a couple of weeks. So explore that.
Can you share some information about there are two study groups what you have written in the text, right? One was the vibe coding and the second was the n8n one. So the n8n one, once we pay, you'll immediately add it to the WhatsApp group and then start the sessions.
See,
sorry, is that a session or?
Yeah. So there is one called study group and the second is called bootcamp. Study groups are self-study. So there is an n8n study group and a vibe coding study group. You can join either, and you have to pay $499 to join. And if you complete the demo, you will get the money back. Okay, so that is self-study. The boot camps are course-based sessions where we will teach you to kind of take you through the entire process. That will be more expensive, but we will probably roll it out in a couple of weeks.
Is there any ballpark figure for the bootcamp pricing or yet to be decided?
Yet to be decided, yeah.
And the study group is totally async, right? It's only on chat. We don't meet even once a week, nothing like that.
We do meet once or twice a week, right?
Okay.
So where if you have any questions, etc., so those clarifications, etc., will happen.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
So the study group is more text-based and content. You share the content and we do it on our own, right?
The whole idea is, Gaurav, so you basically make a commitment and we will give you all the material. You will have all the information and you will have access to the WhatsApp group. We'll also be available. You can ask questions to others, us, etc. We meet once or twice a week. Ask your questions during that time. In the third week, Saturday, you will have a demo. So a lot of our demos are also live on YouTube. You can check out how people have done this.
Okay.
So you will have a demo. It is like your initiative basically. Like the whole idea is that we want more people to kind of learn by themselves. So that's the whole idea. What happened is a bunch of them came back and said that the self-study part was a little difficult. They need some hand-holding, right? And for us, we can't do course teaching for free apart from what we do on the weekend. So that's why that is going to be chargeable, and which we'll launch in a couple of weeks.
Got it.
Yeah. Super. Awesome. All right, folks. Thank you so much. You guys have a nice weekend, and we'll have the recording up on Monday. Okay. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Bala.
Thank you.
Thank you.